The earliest form of the large-scale production of wine was rooted in Georgia at about 6000 BC. In its earliest essence, wine was taken as an object of religious and cultural importance by the Greeks. Ever since then, these traditions have been carried on due to the prehistoric importance of the drink. It was the 15th century AD, though, when the production and consumption of wine started burgeoning as a part of the European expansion. This saw a great growth in the Old World wine producers, which mainly involved France, Spain, Italy, Germany, and Portugal. The French, who are globally popular for their authentic wine, have had a long history with regards to their production processes and methods. The traditional winemakers used old school technology involving hand picking the best grapes, squeezing out the wine juice by foot, and then filtering it and fermenting it underground. This entire procedure took about 3 to 6 months for the wine to be ready. That there was a high amount of manual skill required along with the suitable geographical conditions to create this fine quality of wine.
Wine production knowledge was first introduced in America in 16th century when Spanish conquerors imported grapes from France, Italy, and Germany and built vineyards in Mexico. In 19th century, European vineyards experienced Phylloxera insect pests and then made the Spanish colonized America their new hub for wine production, where they found the crop to be immune to the pest. This led to the beginning of the New World wine. Nowadays, advances in biotechnology allow scientists to use DNA technology as a research tool to gain understanding about wine yeast. Production of wine becomes industrialized and automated in order to cut down cost and catch up with the demand. Old traditions were now replaced by the technologically based winemaking industry. Presently, variety of wines are produced in high volumes in America, particularly in Argentina, California, and Chile. Australia also joined the industry in the 19th century and became well known in the late 20th century with growing reputation for consistent quality and mass production of wine.
Now look at a comparison of French wine producers and Australian wine producers. In analyzing the traditional strength of French wine producers and competitive advantages for Australian wine producers, we use Porter's National Diamond Framework to identify a country's competitive advantage with wine sector. Competitive advantages of the French wine industry were centered around the concept of terroir, which links the style of the wines to the specific locations where the grapes are grown and the wine is made. Terroir is the key endowed resource for French wine, which is valuable but extremely rare and inimitable in other countries. Due to varied terroirs, France is the source of many grape varieties that are now planted throughout the world. The demand and culture for French wine is terroir driven, and the traditional French wine consumers are educated connoisseurs who are experts in wine, which drives wine producers to apply techniques to ensure the poetry of wine with high quality, which is the famous and unique feature of French wine. The value chain of French wine is quite fragmented in that there are many independent small vineyards and regional villages which compete with each other in the same region. This creates a regional competition for various wines. On the other end of the supply chain, the distribution of this wine is controlled by main merchant traders. Another key concept for French wine is the Appellation d'origine contrôlée, the AOC system. AOC is the main governing body defining the grape varieties and winemaking practices through the vast structure of the French wineries, villages, and regions. All these factors contribute to the competitive advantages of French wine producers, unique terroir advantage, strong reputation for traditional French making, and high-end wine producers. This has led to the success of some famous wine like Bordeaux, Burgundy, and Champagne, which are the flagship of French premium wine. Have a look at the Australian wine. The Australian producers posed a threat to the traditional French winemakers with their widely available but inexpensive land and technology. They target a relatively younger generation who tend to like a fruity taste and require higher quality and greater fashion element. The support of the government with lenient laws for the winemakers makes it easier for them to develop globally. They made this evident with their Strategy 2025, through which they aim to become a global leader by then. These factors, Australian wine producers are highly competitive for innovation in production, packaging, and marketing. Via automation and industrialization, of grape growing and wine producing, they gain cost advantage from economies of scale and even reduce cost via an integrated value chain with increased bargaining power against retailers. Moreover, they developed strong branding skills based on different segments covering super premium wine to basic wine. Being close to the market, they are able to respond to customers' preference and adopt different strategies.
Now let's have a look at the UK wine market. Regardless of the problems French wine industry may be facing, it is still the largest winemaker in the world with a production of 46.6 million hectoliters. The entry of the new world winemakers have spoiled the consumers with choice and low price. This has resulted in a steady increase in the unsold wine stock, increasing to 30.4 million hectoliters in 2013-14. Subsequently, French wine exports fell by 12.75% in UK. Also, the premium wine segment has been hardly hit by the anti-gifting policy of the Chinese government, with exports down 8.77%. The UK wine market is the sixth largest in the world. The total sales in the UK wine market was £12.6 billion in 2015. There are more than 450 vineyards with over 4 million bottles being produced in the UK. However, imported wines still accounts for a major part of the total wine sales in the UK. France lost their number one position in both still and sparkling wine sales in the UK in 2014. This is partially due to the traditional wine production methods, which hinders the quantity of production and the marketing techniques. In recent years, consumers in the UK tend to purchase wine based on taste and affordability. According to Nielsen and Wilson Drinks report, 80% of the UK's major supermarkets' wines were sold below £4.2, while just 2% of UK wines were sold for more than £7.
Before we go towards the recommendations towards the French wine industry to progress in the UK market, a quick snapshot of the challenges of the French wine industry tells us that, with the development of the new world and changing of demand, the French wine producers are not achieving their desired share in the UK market. High levels of fragmentation has led to a high competition among the producers to gain market share and an exclusive brand image in the international market. Additionally, due to the several layers of merchant traders acting as intermediaries, there isn't just a major addition to costs, but there is also a rift between the producers' interests and customers' preferences. The AOC system, introduced in 1935, brought in two major disadvantages for the French producers. Firstly, they were limiting the scope for innovation and automation available to the farmers by placing barriers. Moreover, the classification is based on terroir and divided into 4 categories, which makes it confusing for consumers to recognize. Here are a few steps that we feel could help the French industry gain competitive advantage in the UK market. To compete with the new world wine producers, which can offer cheap wines with low cost to customers, the first thing French wine producers should do is cut down costs. To achieve that, they must integrate along the value chain in order to reduce the multiple layers of intermediaries, which alone add up to 70% of the cost. Forming of unions amongst the highly fragmented wineries could help them in reducing costs with their combined synergies and also achieving economies of scale. This could also help them in lobbying against the AOC's restrictions while maintaining the premium quality of the wine. Supporting sport events like tennis and films like classy Bond movies can attract premium wine consumers and bring awareness towards the uniqueness of French wine. Also, French wine producers should focus on how to reach customers directly through opening own outlets like specialized French wine outlets, opening stores in hotels, and use retailers like big supermarkets like Tesco to build wine cases that stand out. A second suggestion would be focusing more on the variety and quality of wines through innovation in terms of diversifying with a completely new kind of wine while still holding up the premium nature of the French wine. Along with the cost falling down through integration, price should be kept slightly higher than the average Australian prices in order to regain market share but still maintain exclusivity. A final recommendation would be government intervention, wherein the government can play a crucial role in this competitive wine war to help its wine producers get an advantageous position. Improvisations in the tax structure for import and export of wines could also help the French local producers.